And hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Criterion Connection. I'm Wade.
And I'm Joe.
And we are doing, this is April. It's April, guys. That means next week is the Criterion channel. It's debuting. I'm talking like we released it. We know it. Criterion's releasing it, and it's going to be exciting. Check out their first week of stuff. Anyway, but they still release DVDs and Blu-rays, and they recently re-released a certain movie on Blu-ray. A couple Jim Jarmusch films, but the one we're doing is I've had it forever, and we finally watched it. It is Spy Number 400, Stranger Than Paradise, from 1984. Yes. And
this is his first professional film.
Yes. Also, the DVD comes with Permanent Vacation, which is, I think, his first little...
It was his student thesis film.
Yeah. So, this one is about this kind of... it's kind of about immigration in America, a little bit. Like, not immigrant, you know what I mean? Like, immigrants in America.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here like it's not about immigration.
It's about immigrants in America, mostly Willie, Ava, and not really Eddie. He's more like kind of like in America. He's just basically New Yorker, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's about it's hard to really talk about the plot of this movie because there's not much of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a precursor to the the mumblecore type of movies like this and Slacker and stuff like that. Very kind of minimalistic.
Well, this
plot.
reminds me of John Cassavetes.
Yes.
That was the first thing I got. It reminds me a lot of a Cassavetes film.
Yeah, it's very dry. Very dry. But yeah, it's basically you have Willie, who's like your main character, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And he's from Hungary. He's from Budapest, to be specific. And he's like, I don't want anything to do with Hungary. Don't speak Hungarian in front of us. Don't call me by my birth name. Don't call me that. He's very like, I'm American. I denounce everything that was me.
Yeah, he's a symbol of immigrants that have come to America, and especially in New York, who wanted to assimilate and just kind of leave everything behind.
Yes.
Especially when a lot of immigrants are being mistreated. That would be a big thing. So he wanted to appear as American as possible. He takes on a new name. He speaks only English. He's, very, down, he wants to be more, he adopts that kind of culture.
Yeah.
He doesn't really partake in, the, Hungarian food, like we see later.
Yeah.
He gets a TV dinner, and he's like, that's how Americans do it.
Yeah.
And all that stuff. And then you juxtapose that with Ava, who just got into America, who's going to stay with their aunt in Cleveland, and basically he's telling her the way you want to come into America is you want to become American.
Yeah.
And that comes up, a little bit later, Eddie bringing up, I didn't know you were Hungarian, I didn't know, he's like, I always thought you were an American. And he keeps telling Eddie to shut up, he doesn't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
So, obviously, he's got something he probably should work out. And like I said, it could have been a product of, the way the treatment of immigrants had been in New York.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things to it. They constantly play J. Hawkins' I Got a Spell on You.
I Put a Spell on You.
I Put a Spell on You, which I guess is that America? Is that kind of the allure of America?
Yeah,
and it's also
the
blues.
illusion of the American dream.
Yeah, it's also blues, so it's very American root kind of thing. They play with her a lot, and she's like, I really like this song. Mm-hmm. It's luring her to be and
American. He can't stand that kind of music, which is funny. It's even funnier when you look into the background of the two male actors.
Yeah.
Both being musicians.
Yes. One,
John Laurie being a jazz musician.
And then the other one was in this...
And the other guy was the original Sonic Youth drummer.
Sonic Youth.
Richard Edson.
Yeah.
And I just think that's really funny.
Yeah, and And if you look up the person who played Ava, her Wikipedia page has her holding a violin. So I guess they're all sort of pseudo musicians.
That would make sense for Jim Jarmusch.
Yeah, so it's very kind of. I love the idea of like, we visit a place somewhere new, it still looks the same. It's kind of like this boredom of America, this American boredom, and feel like everything's mundane and.
Well, everything seems the same. Like, to her, New York was a lot like Budapest, in a way, and then Cleveland ends up being a lot like New York.
Yeah.
They keep running into these northern cities.
And I love how the cities look very dystopian at times. Like, it just looks like there's no one in the streets. No one. You'll see one person in the background.
They end up going to Miami, and they pretty much keep her in the motel room most of the time.
Except when she goes to the beach and.
Yeah, when she goes to the beach.
And just things happen. You're like, oh, that's kind of humorous. It's very deadpan. Very. It's like I said. It's like there's not much of a plot. It's very kind of like a day in the life. Well, I guess a year and 10 days in the life or whatever.
Yeah.
And you also notice that Willie's not the greatest guy. He's kind of, and I don't know. Ava is a cool character to where, like, he gets her the dress and she doesn't want to conform to that. One of my favorite scenes is the theater.
I like how he's the only one that thinks it's a pretty dress.
Yeah. I love the scene when they're in the theater. Well, obviously that guy asked Ava on a date. Mm-hmm. And Eddie's in the middle, like, just like, kind of like, he's sort of interested in her.
Yeah.
And can you walk me to my door? And they're mocking him while they're like, it is and I love their scenes where it's like, when Ava
My
leaves,
favorite thing is the fact that Aunt Lottie cannot be beaten at cards.
Yeah.
And he's like, I want another shot. He's like, I want to win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's things like, I forgot what I was going to say. I'm sorry. I lost my train of thought there.
Where they get the car and they just don't care anymore.
It's more of like
what's Max gonna do?
Yeah,
I was like, wow.
Yeah, and they're obviously doing some shady things. Like Willie's not really the biggest protagonist.
We had the Rounders moment, where they're playing poker against some guys and cheated them out of a bunch of money.
A thing to note is, I just did some research afterwards, and I never caught it until someone pointed out that it's all long shots. Mm-hmm. It's all just one continuous shot. And I think that's what makes it feel like this feels kind of like real people, real life. It's kind of...
Yeah, to me, like... It's not like one of those... It's not like Birdman, but every shot is several minutes long, typically.
Yeah. It's just dialogue scenes.
And that's what I really like is... That's my favorite part of the movie, really, is the way Jim uses the camera and how he sets up some of these shots. There's one where you're capturing, I believe, Ava walking down the street, and it's shooting the street corner, and you can see a little bit of the street down here, and then you've got the front of the building, and I just really like the way that looked as she's walking by.
Yeah, there's two scenes that I really like, makes it feel real life, is like when Ava leaves and Eddie comes to Willie's place, and they just sit there in silence for like a couple minutes. Like I feel like that'll be real life. You have nothing to talk about. Mm-hmm. The second thing is when she's throwing away the dress, right? And there's that character in the background, and Willie's been saying, I felt dread in that scene because Willie's like, don't go out alone, don't go out alone, and he's just walking towards like, oh no, what's gonna happen? And it's Eddie. Yeah, it's Eddie.
Yeah.
But I kind of had a little bit of a dread, and I like how that whole you don't want to go out alone. You might get hurt. There's trouble out there. We don't see it.
This is early '80s New York, so it was still.
We don't see it. It's
still fairly dangerous.
They set things up. They just don't do it because it's just like it's not about setting up things. It's about just like it's dangerous out, whatever. I like how they go to the lake and stuff like that. It's just very kind of day in the life. Very low budget. I feel it's very low budget. I mean, what kind of budget? A film is probably the only thing they've really spent money on. Well, and maybe some permits here and there.
I did read up that he got extra film stock from Wim Wenders.
Ooh.
When Wim Wenders was finished shooting some stuff, he would give him the leftover film stock which ended up him expanding this 30-minute short. Because this was originally a 30-minute short.
Oh.
And then he extended it to a feature-length film, and then it took it to Cannes and all of that.
Yeah.
But, he had met Wim Wenders, who was shooting a documentary on... man, I can't remember who it was. I heard this a while back.
Someone in the comment section will let us know.
Yeah, I probably messed something up because that's how my memory is. But yeah, that's what I thought was really cool. Is he was getting like extra film stock and like people helping him along. Never really getting like huge like financial investments. Just other directors going, "Hey, I really like what he's trying to do. Let me help him out real quick." And I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
And that kind of follows Jim Jarmusch. He's always been a very kind of do-it-yourself filmmaker,
but with great hair.
Yeah, even after his name becomes real big, especially in the early '90s. I mean, he still does everything himself as much as he can. This really wasn't my favorite one. Like this, it wasn't as good as Dead Man to me. It's very unpolished. He's a very young filmmaker. So it's all stuff that you'd be like, you know what, I'll see it later.
Yeah.
And it'll be even better.
Yeah.
But you can see that there's a lot of potential there. And, yeah.
Yeah, I like the movie.
Like I said, my favorite thing is the way he did his shot setups.
Yeah, like, I'm not the biggest fan of, like, minimalistic plots. Mm-hmm. But I feel like the characters were kind of worthwhile following. They were interesting characters. And characters, like, it's... Someone, I forget where I saw it, but it's kind of like, it's like the movie is viewing... I think I saw it in the supplements. The little booklet here. It's America in the view of immigrants, which is a voice that I don't have, right?
Right.
So it's interesting. But I do understand that there's an unpolishedness to it. It is his first film. I'm interested in the Blu-ray because the DVD transfer wasn't the greatest. Mm-hmm. But, it's as good as for like an 80s transfer is going to be, So buy, rent, or skip, Joe?
I'm going to say it's a rent. I think it's good to watch once and kind of see the foundation that Jim Jarmusch lays for himself. And you see a lot of his influences. Like, to me, I see a lot of John Cassavetes. I see a lot of those movies, like we did Smithereens and Midnight Cowboy. A lot of those minimalistic, day in the life of kind of plots. I see a lot of that there, and I think it's... for me, I think what helps this versus when we watched Faces, I believe, right? With John Cassavetes?
I believe we did that one. Yeah. That was the one.
What I think benefits this movie as opposed to that one, for me, is we've seen Dead Man, and I see where Jim Jarmusch goes. I also think the actors in this were a little bit more charismatic. John Laurie, which eventually he gets his own series, Fishing with John, that used to be on the on Filmstruck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's a solid, like just a rent. For me.
I'm gonna say 2. There's Rent. I feel like the average audience probably not gonna like it. Like I said, like there's not much of a plot, and it's very character driven, but it's not like character driven where it's like, oh, they have this huge arc. That's very kind of like
it's subtle.
It's very minimalistic. I say Rent for that reason, but if you're a big fan of like those kind of films, like I even put like I believe Clerks is definitely kind of inspired by this movie.
Definitely, yeah.
Just like if you like those kind of movies where it's just like about people and just their lives or whatever, I'd say buy. Also, if you buy it, you get Permanent Vacation if you buy the DVD. I'm not sure with the Blu-ray that just came out, but it looks like it has the same art. I believe it's probably the same thing. It's just a transfer.
I also forgot to bring up I really like the ending too.
Yes.
That was another great part.
Yes.
Where all 3 characters end up in different places.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really interesting, kind of bittersweet way to end it.
Yeah. Because it's just like, yeah. That's a good way to put it. Yeah. But that's our.
Just like the bittersweet ending when we get to the end of every Criterion Connection episode.
Yes, that was good. That was a good one right there,
You're
Joe.
welcome.
But let us know in the comment section below what you think about Stranger in Paradise. What's another Jim Jarmusch movie? He has a lot on Criterion, actually.
And the one that isn't is Ghost Dog Way of the Samurai. And that's a shame. We need to change that.
Yes. Yeah, let us know in the comment section below. Subscribe, share the video.
Mm-hmm.
So if you share the video, we spread the word. More people, watching. Yeah. I don't have much else. I need a drink of water right now. So, I don't know. Do you have anything, Joe?
Just thanks for watching, guys.
Yes. So until next time, we will see you later.